Hare Krishna. So, thank you. I'm very grateful to be here in SCON Zurich, and thank you for the opportunity. I'm just here for one day. I'm going to Geneva, and then go back to Thailand. So thank you for the opportunity. I was thinking I would listen, but Prabhu wanted me to share some things. So I'll try to share a few things that, from my knowledge, from my understanding. Hopefully it's useful in your devotional service also. Pleasing for Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra, Gaunitai, and also purifying for myself. Hare Krishna. Om Agyanatimi Randasya Gyananjana Salakaya Jakshurunmitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurve Namah Sri Chaitanya Mano Vistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Udpadakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Sa Sri Rupam Sagaragatam Sagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savdutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Sri Visakan Vitam Sa Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpati Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhesha Kripa Sindhu Evacha Pattanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 6, Verse 16, right? This is the mark. Yeah. Huh? Oh, 18, huh? I got the verse for 17, 16, I think. So we read 18, right? Okay, yeah, 18. Rajan Patir Gurur Alam Bhavatam Yadunam Rajan Patir Gurur Alam Bhavatam Yadunam Daivam Priya Kulapati Kvacha Kinkaro Va Astva Ekam Anga Bhagavan Bhajatam Mukundo Muktim Dadati Karhichit Smana Bhakti Yogam Rajan Patir Gurur Alam Bhavatam Yadunam Daivam Priya Kulapati Kvacha Kinkaro Va Astva Ekam Anga Bhagavan Bhajatam Mukundo Muktim Dadati Karichit Smana Bhakti Yogam Rajan Patir Gurur Alam Bhavatam Yadunam Daivam Priya Kulapati Kvacha Kinkaro Va Astva Evam Anga Bhagavan Bhajatam Mukundo Muktim Dadati Karichit Smana Bhakti Yogam Anyone would like to? Rajan Patir Gururalam Bhagavatam Yadunam Daivim priya kulapati kvacha kinkaro va. Astva avalam bhagavan bhajatam mukundho. Muktim dadati karichit smana bhakti yogam. Rajan patir guru alam bhagavatam ayudunam. Daivam priya kulapati kvacha kinkaro va. Astvam ananga bhagavan bhajatam mukundho. Muktim dadati karichit smana bhakti yogam. Rajan patir gurur alam bhavatam yadunam. Daivam priya kulapati kvacha kinkaro va. Astva ekam anga bhagavan bhajatam mukundo. Muktim dadati karichit smana bhakti yogam. You like Rajan patir gurur alam bhavatam yadunam. Daivam priya kulapati kvacha kinkaro va. Asvam anga bhagavan bhajatam mukundho. Muktim dadati karichit smana bhakti yogam. Rajan, O my dear king, Pati, maintainer, Guru, spiritual master, Alam, certainly, Bhavatam, of you, Yadunam, the Yadu dynasty, Daivam, the worshipable deity, Priya, very dear friend, Kulapati, the master of the dynasty, Kvacha, sometimes even, Kinkaraha, servant, Va, of you the Pandavas, Astu, to be sure, Evam, thus, Anga, O king, Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhajatam, of those devotees engaged in service, Mukunda, the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Muktim, liberation, Dadati, delivers, Karichit, at any time, Sma, indeed, Na, not, Bhakti Yogam, loving devotional service. Translation by and purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sukadeva Goswami continued, My dear king, the Supreme Personality, the Supreme Person, Mukunda, is actually the maintainer of all the members of the Pandava and Yadu dynasties. He is your spiritual master, worshipable deity, friend, and the director of your activities. To say nothing of this, he sometimes serves your family as a messenger or servant. This means he works just as an ordinary servants do. Those engaged in getting the Lord's favor attain liberation from the Lord very easily, but he does not very easily give the opportunity to render direct service unto him. Purport. While instructing Maharaj Parikshit, Sukadeva Goswami thought it wise to encourage the king because the king might be thinking of the glorious position of various royal dynasties. Especially glorious is the dynasty of Priyavrata, in which the Supreme Lord Rishabdev incarnated. Similarly, the family of Uttanapad Maharaj, the father of Maharaj Dhruva, is also glorious due to King Prithu is taking birth in it. The dynasty of Maharaj Raghu is glorified because Lord Ramachandra appeared in that family. As far as the Yadu and Kuru dynasties are concerned, they existed simultaneously. But of the two, the Yadu dynasty was more glorious due to the appearance of Lord Krishna. Maharaj Parikshit might have been thinking that the Kuru dynasty was not as fortunate as the others, because the Supreme Lord did not appear in that family, neither as Krishna, Lord Ramachandra, Lord Rishabdev or Maharaj Prithu. Therefore, Parikshit Maharaj was encouraged by Sukadeva Goswami in this particular verse. The Kuru dynasty may be considered more glorious due to the presence of devotees like the 5 Pandavas who rendered unalloyed devotional service. Although Lord Krishna did not appear in the Kuru dynasty, he was so obligated to the Pandavas' devotional service that he acted as a maintainer of the family and spiritual master of the Pandavas. Although he took birth in the Yadu dynasty, Lord Krishna was more affectionate to the Pandavas. By his actions, Lord Krishna proved that he was more inclined to the Kuru dynasty than the Yadu dynasty. Indeed, Lord Krishna, in depth to the Pandavas' devotional service, sometimes acted as their messenger, and he guided them through many dangerous situations. Therefore, Maharaj Parikshit should not have been saddened because Lord Krishna did not appear in his family. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is always inclined towards his pure devotees, and by his action, it is clear that liberation is not very important for the devotees. Lord Krishna easily gives one liberation, but he does not so easily give one the facility to become a devotee. Muktim tadati karichit smana bhakti yogam. Directly or indirectly, it is proved that bhakti yoga is the basis for the supreme relationship with the Supreme Lord. It is far superior to liberation. It is far superior to liberation. For a pure devotee of the Lord, mukti is automatically attained. Hare Krishna. So, this is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 6, the activities of Lord Rishabdev, and we are reading verse number 18. So, very wonderful verse. Sukadeva Goswami is encouraging Parikshit Maharaj by saying, the Supreme Person, Mukunda, is actually the maintainer of all the members of the Pandavas and Yadu dynasty. So, Prabhupada in the purport, in the first paragraph, Prabhupada explains that, we are talking about Rishabdev, right? So Rishabdev is born in the family of, especially glorious is the dynasty of Priyavrata. So Priyavrata whole dynasty is glorious because Rishabdev appeared, and this is talking about Rishabdev, this chapter. So Parikshit Maharaj, he might be feeling, okay, so many great devotees are born, the Lord is born in their family, but I am not so fortunate because Krishna did not really personally appear in the Kuru dynasty. He was born in the Yadu dynasty, so Yadu Kula is glorified, right? We also say Yadu Nandan, we also say, Krishna is referred to as Vasudeva, the son of Vasudeva, similarly Yashoda Nandan. So like that we can glorify the Lord by relating it with the devotees. Similarly, Prithu Maharaj also, Dhruva Maharaj was, Prithu Maharaj was born in the family of Uttanapad and Dhruva Maharaj, right? So we are reading that in Thailand right now. So like that, but Lord Ramachandra is born in the family of Raghu dynasty, Yadu dynasty, so like that. But Parikshit Maharaj is feeling that I am not so fortunate. Our clan is not so fortunate because Lord Krishna was not personally born there or directly related to like the Yadus. But in the second paragraph, Prabhupada explains how Kuru dynasty, or especially the Pandavas, are very dear to the Lord, right? And he gives the example that Lord Krishna personally did so much personal services to the Pandavas. So I think one of the examples that we can see, if you look at the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is becoming the chariot driver of Arjuna, right? So that's such a wonderful thing. We can see normally, we have a company. I work in the university. I teach engineering, and we can see we have the president. Let's say the president never comes and becomes like a driver, or forget about that. Just comes and greets you. Sometimes they might greet you, but there's a big protocol normally. In the corporate industry, we have all these. This should be done like that and like that. So normally the main person doesn't come and serve the janitor or like the normal staff. But we can see here the Supreme Lord, Arjuna is just a normal householder, let's say, and but he is ready to become his chariot driver. And I think we can also see that that time when Arjuna was firing arrows and things like that, so they have to chant the mantras. So how to go left and right, Arjuna has to give that direction by the feet, like the knees. Normally that's how the rath is actually maneuvered, right? So Krishna is taking that kicks from Arjuna, and he's ready to do that service, right? So sometimes we can also see he also became a messenger when Duryodhana was not at all trying to compromise and give any of these forget about the kingdom that they deserved, but even just small villages he was not ready to give to the Pandavas. So Krishna wanted to mediate that situation, and he became a messenger, and he went on behalf of the Pandavas. He went to the Kurus, Dhritarashtra's kingdom, and he was saying he acted like a messenger. So normally the messenger is like not a very great position, right? So he went and and Duryodhana actually that time he wanted to capture Krishna, right? Because he knew that Krishna had some power. Sakuni told him that Krishna is a very mystic person, so he has got some mystic power and something like that. So they did not believe he is God. So he said, you try to capture him. And that time actually Krishna shows also the Virat Rupa. But Duryodhana still doesn't, he just considers that he's showing his mystic power and trying to favor the Pandavas. So in that way we can see they never really understood the position of Lord Krishna, the Kurus, right? Especially Duryodhana and his brothers, Dhritarashtra and his sons. But Lord Krishna was always trying to, favoring the Pandavas with so much service and intimate association. So what I wanted to specify here is Lord Krishna, he is called Bhakta Vatsala, right? So he actually tries to serve his devotees. And, normally in the material world, when we become big, and then we think that everyone has to serve us. But we can see in the spiritual world, even Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is, avatari, right? So he is the source of all incarnation, all Vishnu incarnations, all manifestations are coming from him. Prabhupada often quotes the Srimad Bhagavatam, Itecha Amsa Kala Pumsa, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. All the other different incarnations, right? Prabhupada considers that that's the focal verse of the whole of Srimad Bhagavatam, because after describing all the Matsya avatar, the four Kumaras, all the literary incarnation, Narsimhadev, Varadev, all of those incarnations, then this verse is being quoted in Srimad Bhagavatam, Itecha Amsha Kala Pumsa. All these are different small Kala and Pumsa. But Krishna is the Swayam Bhagavan. And we can see that even such a great personality, what is he doing? He likes to serve his devotees. So it's not that he's obliged to, right? Like we can see, he gets pleasure out of it. I remember, I think His Holiness Sachinandan Maharaj, I was in Germany, several years back, almost a decade. I did my further studies here. and I had a good fortune of to attend some of Satyanandan Maharaj's classes and courses. So I remember Maharaj gave one class, and there he was saying this point. I think in Christianity they have a small, like a tale, where they say that there was one king, and he asked his minister, I want to know what is God's work. So he asked the minister and said, you find out what is God's work in maybe within like a month or something like that. I want to know what God does. And so the minister, he tried to find out from the scriptures or Bible and other places, what does God do. So he couldn't find really much, but he knew he had a very smart friend. When he was small in the school, he was quite devoted. So he said, he must be knowing. I'm a minister, I don't know so much. So he tried to find him, and right now that friend, his simple friend, was working as a shepherd, right? So he was taking care of the sheep and the cows in the village. So he went, and then he asked him, the king has asked me to find out what is God's work, and if I don't find out within like 1 month or something, he's going to penalize me, maybe even, banish me. But if I know the solution, if I know the answer, then he's going to promote me and things like that. So then the shepherd, the humble shepherd, he said, don't worry, I know the answer. Oh, it's very easy, not so difficult. You tell me. He said, no, I won't tell you. I will tell in front of the king. Maybe when you're all summoned, we'll go together and I'll give the answer. So he said, okay, he's my good friend, so he trusted him, and he didn't have an answer by himself. So when he went to the king, it was little late, and the king was already sitting on the throne, and why are you late? He became very angry with the minister, and he said, oh, I have my friend, he's going to give the answer. So then the shepherd, he came, okay, tell me the answer, you're already late, So he was quite angry. So then the shepherd, he said, I will give the answer, but not here. I have to go to the throne, and then you have to sit as a normal person. So the king got even more angry. He said, this simple rocked shepherd is trying to control me and give me advice, and So anyways, he said, because everyone was there, he said, okay, you come, but if we cannot, along with the minister, I'm also going to banish both of you, or kill you. So the shepherd, the simple shepherd, he went and he sat on the throne, and then the king was sitting down along with all the. So then he said, so what's the answer? He said, yeah, this is the answer. And then what do you mean by that? And then the shepherd said, the God or Lord, he lifts the humble people up, and who are arrogant, he brings them down. So this is his service, this is his work. Right? So he said like that, and then the king couldn't say anything, and then he also understood that he was acting out of egoism or becoming arrogant, and then the shepherd was taking a humble position. So that's the Lord's work. And we can also see the same verse being repeated in Bhagavad Gita. Anyone knows that verse? Right? Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha duskritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. And also the verse before that, yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuthanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham. Right? Whenever there is a lot of miscreants in the world, and then the Lord is going to come, and basically He is going to people who are humble, who are devoted, He's going to protect them, right? Paritranaya sadhuna. He's going to take care of the devotees who are humble and who are properly situated, engaged in devotional service. And people who are demoniac propensities, who are very arrogant, then He brings them down. That's His service. That's the work He likes to do, right? And then sometimes we can also think that our acharyas also explain that the demons can also be killed by so many Maya or so many agents, right? You can, the Lord can just create an earthquake, or just make a, crash the Boeing and, put all the demons together and crash them somewhere. But, our acharyas give the, explanation that the Lord likes to serve His pure devotees. Right? And I think we can understand that from our life also. What do we like to do? I mean, many people, we have families, we want to get married, and have children. And when you have children, you become very happy, What are you doing? Basically, you're serving. You're serving the small children, and you're taking people. Prabhupada also gives the example, people take care of the dogs, things like, and then you feel happy. Why? Because that service gives us happiness. That's the constitutional position of all living entities. Even the Supreme Lord, He also likes to do service. But most of the time we are doing service out of conditioning. But if you are doing service out of love, then, then that's, and then you are doing it, serving the devotees, serving the Lord, and especially out of love, then that's, without any motive. Right? So then that's, that's what the Lord also likes to do. He especially likes to serve the devotees who are properly engaged, and He gets pleasure out of it. So maybe I'll give some examples from, from the scriptures, how the Lord serves His devotees, and maybe I also want some of you to share some of your realizations, how the Lord also serves His devotees. So one example, I think we can all see, is this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. It's the prayers of Queen Kunti. Gopya, it's Srimad Bhagavatam 1.8.31. Gopya adade tvai kritagashi damatavad yate dashasru kali lanjana sambra maksham vaktram naniya bhaya bhava nayastitasya samam vimohayati bhir api yad viveti. My dear Krishna, Yasoda took up a rope to bind you when you committed an offense, and you perturbed eyes over-flooded with tears, which washed the mascara from your eyes, and you were afraid, though fear personified is afraid of you. This sight is bewildering for me. So you can see this example where I think all of you also, we recently had Kartik, and maybe you're talking about the Yasoda and Krishna pastime. So we can see Krishna is serving or coming in the family of Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, and doing all these intimate pastimes. So Brahma also got confused why he is doing like this. He thought he's just a small boy. And he got bewildered also. We had the Brahma, bewilderment pastime where he steals all the Gopas, and at the end he realizes that actually Krishna is Supreme Lord also. So he is thinking, how can a small boy who is eating fruits and tiffin with other normal cowherd boys, how can he be Supreme Lord? It's not possible. And he is jumping around with Mother Yashoda, and stealing butter and feeding the monkeys. How can that be Supreme Lord? Right? So it's very amazing when we hear these kind of pastimes, how the Supreme Lord is just playing around with the devotees, and we can see that the main purpose is actually He is trying to give pleasure to His devotees. Right? So a few days back we also had in Hamburg we had some discussion. And we can see that Lord Ram is very straightforward. Right? So Lord Ram is very straightforward. And Narsimhadev, so many incarnations are very straightforward. They are also called Adarsa Purus. Lord Ram is an ideal king. He's an ideal son. And he doesn't tell a lie. He's very straightforward. But we can see Krishna is very crooked, in one way. It's also said, Krishna has 3 bends, right? So he's very crooked person, He's also lying. Sometimes he's stealing. Some of the many people, they also they act like, why? How can God steal? Why he's also lying? But he's doing all of this with a higher purpose is there. right? So Lord Ram is an ideal king. But Krishna is doing all of these things, he is doing to fulfill the desires of his devotees. And he is also doing this in Vrindavan. So we have to know that. Like, for example, Prabhupada gives the example that, Lord Vishnu or Narayan is where? He's in the Vaikuntha Loka. So that's like his office. So when you go to the office, let's say I go to the office, normally, maybe all of you go to the work, very formal attire you go, right? You have, maybe here also, they wear like pant, shirt, very formal, and then you do some protocols. But when you're at home, you're wearing shorts, maybe you're playing with your children, and then, Prabhupada gives the example, sometimes the parents or the grandfather, he becomes a horse for the grandchild. The same person in the office, he's like a big boss, he's commanding so many secretaries, but when he comes home, then he's doing all these, crazy things for the children, grandchildren, he's becoming like a horse, he's putting them on his, and then he acts different things. So why is it like that? Same person. So is he gone crazy at home? Right? What is the main purpose of that person at home? He just wants to satisfy or give pleasure to his parents, children. Give, sometimes at the office maybe he's giving so many commandments to his secretary, but the same person, he comes home, a wife says something, he's happy with that, right? So the wife sometimes might chastise, or sometimes, they have some talks, and, she might tease him, but he doesn't mind that. He actually takes pleasure in that. Why? Because it's a family environment, right? And he gets pleasure out of that intimate relationships. So Krishna in Vrindavan is actually like his home. And Vishnu and the other incarnations in Vaikuntha Loka, they are like his office work. Right? So Lord Ram is going and he's killing and he's chastising, sometimes rewarding. Different Vishnu incarnations also doing like that. That's like the office work. Right? So that's why we can see Lord Narayan has Sankha, Chakra, Padma. I think we have the same also here. So he is, doing all the office work. But in home, Krishna is acting in a different level. So I think we have to understand that Lord Krishna, pastimes of Lord Krishna in Vrindavan are like his intimate connections at his home. Right? So we can also see some of the devotees that we have intimate connection with their devotees. We have a different rasa with them. Like maybe we all coming in the temple hall, then we all do Vansakalpa, we have, proper etiquette and everything. But maybe in the ashram, some of you are staying in ashram, and some devotees you are very close with, maybe sometimes you tease them, you sometimes maybe you pat them, you hit them, right? Things like that. There's a little different, maybe sometimes they put some prasadam, you also steal their prasadam, because that intimacy is there. When that intimacy is there, then the normal protocols, that doesn't apply. You can transcend that. So the same thing also we can see is Krishna is dealing with his intimate devotees in a different realm. And this is very bewildering for the normal people. If I had not read also Prabhupada's book, then it would be very difficult for us also, right, to understand why, Krishna is doing like this. Because it sounds very, what's going on? How can he be God? Why can he do it? Why can he do like that? So many people in the Indian subcontinent, general Hindu people also, they find Krishna's pastimes quite bewildering, and they think we can relate to Ram. He's okay, but Krishna is telling lies, stealing, doing all these things, and sometimes he's serving. So it's, not understandable. So it's only by the Prabhupada's mercy, especially, in depth, we can see the purports of Prabhupada. And also, our previous acharyas coming in the Gaudiya Vaishnava, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, that we can understand these, pastimes of the Lord. Maybe we can also see how Lord Krishna is also serving. I can share one or two realizations, and I also want you to maybe share some of the pastimes. We can also see how he was serving the Brahmana, poor Brahmana, Sudama, right? So Sudama is a very poor Brahmana, and Krishna is, king. So even material perspective, and even from spiritual perspective, Krishna is God, and Sudama is small Brahmana. So when Sudama comes, he's hugging him, and putting him in Vyasasana, and he's washing his feet. And then later he's also fanning him, and he also wants to take the small chipped rice from Sudama. So comparing from, he's a king situated properly, he's got a lot of food and everything, but he takes that offering from Sudama because he knows that, a lot of devotion is there. He put all his wealth and all his, heart into gathering that part. So we can see that also in Ram Leela. We can also see Sabari is there, right? Sabari, maybe where every day, for I think about 15 years or so, one of a saintly person tells her that Lord Ram is going to pass through here. So Sabari, every day she prepares the flower. She doesn't know when he's going to come. So every day she makes a flower, and she's also eating half the berry and giving the other half to Lord Ram, right? And then Lakshman feels like, how can you give that juta? You're taking first and then giving it to Lord Ram. But Lord Ram understands the mood and says that, she's trying to make sure that it's sweet, because some of the berries can also be sour. So these are some of the pastimes that we can see how the Lord, he's ready to serve his devotees. So sometimes, I also feel like, we have too much service and everything, we have how to manage this and that. But I think what we can, realize after reading these different pastimes is that, the Lord is happy to serve his devotees. So certainly out of obligation, we have to maintain certain things, we have to maintain the temple, we have to have some certain things. But I think we should be happy to serve the Lord and his devotees especially. So when we get an opportunity, Sisi Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Gaunitai Ki Jai. We can serve. So this is, I think, a very important part of our devotional service is when we chant also, or when you do different kind of services. We can do different kind of services, but that can be done out of, I have to do it, I don't like to do it, but if I want to stay here, or I have taken initiation, I have to chant my rounds. So we don't really feel like chanting, we don't feel like serving, but we're doing it out of grudge. He wants me to do it, Prabhu is the temple president, so he told me to do it, so I have to do it, there's no way out. Right? So that's our doing it out of grudge. And then we can also do some service out of duty. Our spiritual master said like that, I have to chant my rounds. I don't like to chant, but I have to finish my 16 rounds. So we do it as a matter of duty. But if we can do things out of love, then that's, I think, real bhakti. Right? So it doesn't have to be very big services. But if we can do even small services, but we are doing it out of, to please that other person, to please the Supreme Lord, to please our gurus, then that is very powerful. And I think we can also see, normal relationship also. I can feel that, I have small children now. So when you go back home, when you go home and then they open the door or something and they're so happy, you also feel so much, you feel very enlivened, because they have they're happy to see you, they're happy to receive you, and that is very contagious. Right? So similarly, they are not doing anything great, like they are not cooking big prasadam or making, getting a lot of money for you. Right? Just that expression that, I'm happy to see my father. It also brings us so much happiness. They are not doing very great things. So similarly, and even in our devotional service, when we do something small also, but we are doing it for the pleasure, to give happiness to other devotees, to give happiness to Guru and to Krishna, then Krishna can really feel that. Right? So that's the reason why Prabhupada also wanted us to chant nicely, hear the books and the scriptures nicely. It's not just that, certainly the quantity of the service is very important, right? At least we should do some service, otherwise everyone's going to sleep. How are we going to take care of the temple and everything? But along with the quantity, I think the quality is very important. How we are doing the devotional service. What is our motive? Right? This is very important in our devotional service. Are we doing it for our sense gratification, and for our own prestige and power, or are we doing it to give pleasure to the Lord? Right? So the motive is very important, and that is, I think, what defines also in Srimad Bhagavatam. It says ahaituka apratihata, right? Ahaituka means without any material motivation, and then we also have continuous, uninterrupted and unmotivated devotional service. So many times we can think that, okay, I don't have any motive, maybe I don't have material motive, we are not getting salary and things like that, but maybe we might be in a neutral stage also, right? I'm just doing it because I have to do it, engage in devotional service. But if we can develop that attachment and doing it out of, for the pleasure, to bring happiness. I think many of us have, heard from Prabhupada disciples how they were doing different services, just that when Prabhupada smiled, they felt so much happiness is there. Right? So we are doing it like that also. If we can develop that kind of attachment towards our gurus, towards Vaishnavas in general, and towards the Supreme Lord. Right? So then I think that is, a very successful part of our devotional service. And Krishna himself likes to serve his devotees. Right? So sometimes we might think, oh, he's not a pure devotee, so should I serve him or not? We can see Krishna is serving so many different varieties of devotees. And some of them are just normal devotees. So, some of them may be acharyas. We can see, how he reciprocated with Ramanujacharya or Madhavacharya or, exalted devotees. But sometimes he's serving just normal devotees also. So there's no loss in serving devotees and trying to, and actually this is an opportunity. I listen to Mahatma Prabhu also, some of the classes. So he says, when we chant, we feel like I have to chant my 16 rounds, or I have to do this service. We feel like I have to do it. I don't want to, but I have to. But when we can convert it to the other side and feel like I get an opportunity to chant. Like let's say, if I want to meet even, the temple president here or senior Vaishnavas, Krishna Prema Prabhu, right? I heard about him also, in Germany and other places, or Thailand. So Narasimha Maharaj was here recently, right? So Maharaj is our, he's the regional secretary there, and then Vaishnavi Mataji also, I heard from him. So if I want to talk to him, maybe you have to find some time and things like that. But we can see, and you want to meet the maybe government officials in Switzerland, maybe very difficult, right? Like the king. But you can see Krishna, you can talk to him 2 hours every day. Direct line. And so this is an opportunity, is it not? Is it a troublesome work? It's an opportunity. So when we see that it's an opportunity, I get to talk with the Supreme Lord every day 2 hours, and through His holy name. So this is a great opportunity. So when we can also see that I get an opportunity to serve Jagannath, right? The Lord of the universe, such nice dresses, and I get to serve Gaurnitai, I get to serve Prabhupada, also all the devotees who are also engaged, who have given up all the material life aside, and they have come to, maybe they have not been completely purified, but they are trying, who have given up the material aspect of their life and trying to serve the Lord. How many devotees are there like that? How many people are there in the material world who have given up, or trying to give up the sense gratification and trying to surrender to the Supreme Lord, right? Engage in the devotional service. So this is an opportunity. When I can see that I get an opportunity every day, right, to serve Vaishnavas and the Lord, then we think we can take that opportunity. We can become happy, right? Not take it as a burden. Okay, thank you very much. I think we have about 7 minutes. I would like to request some of the senior Vaishnavas here to share some realizations, how, maybe something from the scripture or from your everyday life also, how Krishna or even senior Vaishnavas are serving the devotees. And when you hear that, you feel like your heart just melts, you feel like crying, right? And it also inspires us. Maybe we can start with Krishna Prema.
I appreciate your example because, you have children?
Yeah, I have children.
So you're a father, right?
Yeah.
So the example you gave, like a father finds happiness to see the children, how they are looking forward to see their father again. It's a very nice example because after all, Krishna is the father of all living entities. So I was just thinking as a brahmachari, I don't have this big so much. So it's nice to hear from someone like you who has this very practical experience.
Your children are maybe the junior brahmacharis. You have cultivated.
Yes. So yeah, but I think it's a nice meditation. And I appreciate your emphasis on pleasing Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I like your emphasis on pleasing Krishna, because at the end of the day, that's what bhakti is all about, right? Sometimes we lose ourselves in external things, but at the end of the day, it's not so much what we do, how much we do. It's much more about in what kind of attitude we're doing it. And so I appreciate your emphasis. That's just my appreciation.
Maybe Prabhu.
I like what you said about Srila Prabhupada, how just to get a smile of Srila Prabhupada, that was their salary, what will keep them going. And it reminds me of Indra Prabhu. When he was asked what kind of memory he has with Prabhupada, he says he never spoke to Prabhupada. But one time he was doing kirtan, I think near Vrindavan, when Prabhupada arrived. And Srila Prabhupada walked, and then he turned to him and looked him in his eyes and just said, Jai. And he said this Jai keeps him going his whole lifetime. And yeah, I think we also have experience with our spiritual masters. Just they give us some glance, some smile, and it stays with us. And we remember that moment. And I liked this example of your children in that regard. How just when you open the door, you come home. They don't do much, but it gives so much encouragement and happiness. So of course our spiritual masters, they do a lot for us. But yeah, I feel it doesn't need much on a personal level. It can just be a glance or one word, and that can keep us going for years and hopefully a lifetime.
Thank you very much. Maybe someone from the Vaishnavis? Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you very much for your beautiful class. So when you were mentioning that story by Sachinanda Maharaj, where the shepherd is putting the king down and he's going to the throne, and he says that actually this is the work of Krishna, to put the humble up and the pride down. I didn't expect that, of course, because it's
You didn't what?
I didn't expect that, like, because Krishna's work is everything, right? And to really put it to the point is that he explained that. And of course sometimes we feel very proud, and Krishna puts us in a situation that humbles us, and in this position it's sometimes difficult to see it as really Krishna's work, but this is the essence that Krishna does. So maybe you can elaborate on that, how we can really really be thankful for all these situations where Krishna is putting one down.
Yes, thank you very much. So maybe relating to what Krishna Prem Prabhu said, certainly I think the bhakti bhav is important, but Prabhupada also translated the word. I'll come to your question, Mataji, after addressing this. But at the same time, Prabhupada also translated bhakti as devotional service. So he didn't just want, because I think India, Indian subcontinent, we get a lot of bhav, I have so much love for Krishna, but you're not doing anything tangible at the same time, So Prabhupada was not happy with that, just develop the bhakti bhav and not do anything, if you have the opportunity, then, you should do it. Like children don't have facilities, then they are not doing anything. But Prabhupada also said, at the same time, he also said, the wife is there, says, oh, I love you, but she does not cook, she does not clean. Then Prabhupada also says that what kind of love is this, Love means practical service. So certainly I think both those aspects are there. So we have to balance it. I think, not just like, completely do service, but at the same time, I did so much and then why God is not happy, or, but that loving attitude should also be there. But certainly Prabhupada also wanted, and our acharyas also wanted, that the external services should also be done. I think one time when Prabhupada, he went and then, he had made 108 temples, and, one of the disciples asked, Prabhupada, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Prithivite Achyadi Nagaradi Gram, Sarvatra Hoive Mera Naam, right? Sarvatra Pachar Hoive Mera Naam. Every town and village, but you have only made 108, only maybe major cities. Who's going to do the, what about the other places? Then Prabhupada was eating and he looked, if I do everything, what will you do? Right? So, he wants us, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wants us to propagate this mission, establish, centers, temples, congregations in every part of the world. That's our service also. But along with that service, it should not be out of like, I have done it, out of ego, but it should be rather a humble offering for our spiritual master and Prabhupada and, certainly Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that mood and attitude we should not lose, but we should not just be absorbed only in like, some small service, even if we can do other things, right? Prabhupada also gave the example that if a beggar is there, he offers fruit and flower. I think that verse, right? Patram pushpam phalam toyam. If even a beggar can do devotional service, right? Just offer a flower or tulsi plant or water. But if you're a very rich man, doesn't mean you just offer, one tulsi and only, one glass of water. If you're a rich man, then you offer chapan bhog, whatever you're eating. So similarly, if you don't have any resources, okay, you offer something small, Krishna is happy. But if you have those resources, doesn't mean, you are staying in a big mahal, big palace, and, Krishna is just a small, then that's also not appropriate. So then, if you have the resources, if you have the ability, if you have intelligence, why don't you use all of that in the service of the Lord? That's proper devotional service. So trying to put both of that together. Thank you. And maybe coming back to what Mataji said, yeah, that example by Satchidananda Maharaj is very nice. How the Lord is trying to pick up the humble devotees, or when you're humble, He tries to encourage us. When you're puffed up, then He tries to bring us down. And I think I have heard that, many times when Prabhupada, he was very happy when book distribution was done, but sometimes when the devotees were getting puffed up, and someone said, I have done this many books, he used to say, but are you reading them? And then he used to just completely ignore some devotees, right? Then they realized that, whoa, it's not just, external service, but it should also be done out of humility, because that arrogance is really going to bring us down. And relating to this, I remember one example that Prithu Prabhu, I think many of you know, he's German, right? Before he was so he was pioneering devotee, especially he was distributing a lot of books in the West Germany. I remember he even risked his life while crossing the border and distributing books. So he said this in one of his classes. I think I was there maybe around, Leipzig or someplace. So he said, Krishna did so much reciprocation with him. He assisted him a lot. But at one point, he misused it, he did not use it properly, and he gave the example like a dog is there. Sometimes the master takes care of the dog very nicely, but if the dog becomes too much, like, maybe allows him to come to the same room, sometimes even go in the same bed, but if the dog starts to pee and poo on the bed, then what's going to happen? The master gets very angry, and then he said, the master will put the nose in his own poo or in his own shit, So Prabhu said, that's what Krishna did to me. Right? So then I understood it, because you become very humble after that. So you can see some of the devotees, sometimes they have done so much service, and then all of a sudden they do something very abominable or something like that. And one way we can see externally, we can think, oh my God, what happened? How did it happen? But in another way, from another perspective, it's just Krishna is humbling them, Because when all these things happen, they have no other way, they have no other shelter. Even the disciples will reject them. The temple also rejects them. So they become completely humbled. I think you might have heard some of Prabhupada's disciples who are very in high elevated positions. Something happened. So then they say, they have shared, It was very, humbling for us, and I started chanting again. I lost all my ego, all my disciples, they were gone. Then you come to a very humble position. So in that situation, we can think like externally it sounds like, but Krishna protected them, Krishna humbled them, right? And then some of them, I think you might have seen at the end of their life, they go back to Godhead again. They start chanting. I think there's one, maybe I can end with this particular pastime. So there was one instance where there was one pioneering devotee who went to Japan to preach. And then he was again into drugs and everything like that. So before he went, I think Prabhupada asked, anyone wants to go to Japan or this part of the world? But no one really raised their hand, because very, very difficult to go there and preach. And he was himself also. But at the end he says, I can go, Prabhupada, if no one wants. But if I fall down or something, will you come and save me? And Prabhupada said, okay, I will come. You try, and then I will take care. Don't worry. So he goes there. He tries for a few years, but after some time he goes back to his drugs or something like that. Then he, after he, because his health is completely deteriorated, he's flown back to the US or something like that. And then he's in the hospital or hospice, with all the tubes and everything. And his mother, comes to meet him. And his mother also hasn't met, she's not happy with the devotees, and, like he joined the movement and everything. So she was around there, waiting, and she sees an older man asking him, where is this person or something like that. So she shows him the room, and then from inside she hears, oh, Prabhupada or something like that, and then then he leaves the body. So then the other people came and asked him. The mother tells them that, I saw an old man coming by in like a sannyasi robe, but there was no one inside. So they said, who is this man? Is he like this? And then they showed the Prabhupada's picture. And then she looked in the book, this man came. So I'm not sure if I put everything together, but basically Prabhupada came to, take him back at the end. So if we do devotional services, for the pleasure of the Lord, sometimes they might be up, sometimes down. We cannot just say, maybe our Guru has to take us back. But it's also like, our Prabhupada will take us back. Certainly it's our responsibility to maintain the regulative principle and chanting. But in some extreme cases, he humbles us down so that, our attitude is proper. Right? Is that okay, Mataji? So, externally, we cannot just look at everything externally. Sometimes the external fall downs or external banishment might be a blessing, because it's going to correct our attitude and take us back, take our shelter back to Krishna. Because maybe at the beginning we're too intoxicated with power, money, and prestige and disciples. So with that particular slash, maybe everything goes away. He takes away everything, So then you have no other shelter, right? So in that way, it's purifying, and Krishna is doing that to us. Maybe anybody else would like to add to that? Krishna, Prema Rupa Prabhu, would you like to add anything? Or Damodar Prabhu? Anybody else? Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, you want to say something? We have time? Okay, later. Okay.
His Grace Antaranga Gopal Prabhu.
Jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you, devotees from Zurich, for the opportunity and your association. Hare Krishna. Yeah, it is, and that's very nice.